members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the 2021 edition of the Lagos Economic Forum, popularly known as Ehingbeti Summit. This great journey began in May 2000, over 21 years ago, when Ehingbeti broke new ground by becoming the first economic summit held by a sub-national unit in Nigeria. It was the brainchild of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the child of circumstance and necessity, initiated while the first Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration was barely in office a year and had inherited a Lagos that was glaringly creaking and coming apart at the seams. It was clear that a new paradigm for development was needed, and the administration set about its task with gusto. Several work groups comprising some of the best and brightest from various walks of life were assembled and charged with fashioning policy thrusts for the different sectors of the economy. One of the recommendations that emanated from this was the setting up of a Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. I was honored and privileged to be called upon to set up the ministry and to be its first commissioner. I am humbled as I recall the passion and contributions of my staff and I in advocating for Ehingbeti and eventually bringing it into being as a platform for enhanced collaboration with stakeholders, especially from the private sector. The most eloquent recognition afforded our efforts is the fact that so many other states in the Federation emulated our example by setting up similar ministry and in many cases initiating economic development summits. I would also like to note that Ehingbeti contributed in no small measure to the trend of private sector experts deciding that serving in government need not be an anathema. From that period onwards, there have been more and more eminently capable private hands joined in the task of state and nation building. It is a trend I heartily commend. We have held this summit successfully for over 2 decades. Indeed, this marks the 21st year since the Ehingbeti Summit commenced. Certainly, the longest by any sub-national in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I emphasize that 21 years of consistent planning, 21 years of various interests having an input into what eventually goes into the budget and to what eventually the plans and programs of both the public and private sector turn out to be. So when you see that developments have taken place in Lagos, you don't have to wander too far, to be honest. If policy is consistent, if policy is certain, investment comes in. The end result so far has been 7 well-received Ehingbeti summits, 206 resolutions, of which 193 have been successfully implemented. A strong culture of public-private sector collaboration in Lagos State, and many, many great achievements. The foregoing explains why, despite the challenges we have had with COVID-19 pandemic and its disruptive effect on businesses, we have been resolute in our decision that the summit must happen. in response, we have harnessed all our creativity to be able to hold this hybrid summit, both virtually and with some live sessions, so we can continue to deliberate on issues that would move Lagos State forward. The theme for this year's summit is "For a Greater Lagos, Setting the Tone for the Next Decade." This theme very much resonates with what the current thinking is for both Lagos and Nigeria. Lagos has witnessed appreciable development over the past 10 years. In 2010, Lagos had a GDP of 12.091 trillion naira. 10 years later, the economy of Lagos has grown to at least 5 times that. This growth in GDP has been accompanied by significant infrastructure development, including the Lekki-Ikoyi Bridge, Eko Atlantic, and many others. Other sectors, such as housing and financial services, have also seen significant growth. The growth has come with some employment opportunities, and the financial sector has grown to meet the increasing needs of the Lagos population. The needs of the people are varied, and it is important that we not only create employment for them, but also find creative ways to empower them economically. Lagos is a megacity and must begin to look and operate like a megacity. That will only be possible if we are deliberate about the plans and policies we put in place to ensure that both the public and private sector can achieve the set goals and objectives meant to develop the city. I strongly believe that we have the leaders with the know-how and have the workforce. What we need to do is provide the vision and guidance to make sure it happens. That is what this summit is all about. Bringing together the people that can give not just great insights, but also help us put together a roadmap for success to ensure that this great city reaches its goal of being Africa's preeminent city and one of the best cities in the world. That is not to say it's going to be easy. Neither is it to pretend that there will be no challenges along the way. What we affirm is that whatever the challenges we face, giving up is not an option. Giving up is not an option. We must keep on pushing till Lagos reaches its deserved status in the world. The importance of Lagos doing well to the economy of Nigeria is quite clear to everyone. And if it isn't, it should be. It is estimated that Lagos contributes about 30% of Nigeria's GDP. What that means is that if Lagos does well, Nigeria will also do well. The success of Lagos is therefore not just a Lagos issue, but a national issue. As a country, we must do whatever possible to ensure that Lagos realizes its inestimable potential and drives economic growth in Nigeria. There are several opportunities we can harness in Lagos. We have a very youthful population, and this serves as a good opportunity to drive entrepreneurship and growth of small-scale industries. There are examples like Silicon Valley in San Francisco, which has not only contributed to California, but also the United States of America, and ultimately the whole world in terms of driving new enterprise, especially in the area of technology. How do we develop a model like this? I believe that the discussions during this summit will give us a clearer understanding of what needs to be done. With our youthful population also comes the need for education. Investment in the infrastructure required to ensure that our children are not only well educated, but they also have access to all the associated opportunities within the educational sector. When I say well educated, what I mean is bridging the gap between the high-end schools and the lower-end schools to ensure that there's a minimum standard set across the whole of Lagos. This is something we can do, and it requires that we start thinking about what infrastructure and policies are required to ensure that this happens. I believe that as we explore the various topics during the summit, more insights will come into this. The youthful population in Lagos also means that there will be a constant demand for affordable housing. Investment in low-cost but quality housing units is an area that seriously needs to be looked at. The investors in the real estate business need to work with the state on strategies and plans that can ensure that the cost of housing is brought down to the level that makes it affordable to the people of Lagos. It may require new technology and ways of building, but we cannot overlook it if we really mean to solve the housing challenge of Lagos. Happily, we have the experts with us for the next 3 days to break down the issues and help us clear a path that will lead us to success. I hope that this has given you an insight into why we are here today and over the next couple of days. Permit me to be unequivocal in saying that we are here to discuss and find solutions that will make Lagos the best investment destination in the world. We want to put Lagos back on the map as a headquarters for businesses in West Africa and the overall continent. Our plan is that this summit will be highly interactive with plenary sessions and discussion forums that allow the public to contribute their opinions to these discussions. Key areas we will touch on during this summit include how to make Lagos the world's best investment destination, how to strengthen governance institutions and legislations, driving a digital economy in Lagos, how to develop the human capital in Lagos, how to fund the resultant growth in a sustainable way, and how to ensure Lagos remains resilient and achieves the sustainable goals, SDG. Let me reemphasize that these topics are very critical topics for Lagos in particular and Nigeria in general. And I can assure those who are going to be part of this that this is no talk shop. We heard the number of resolutions over the years that Ehingbeti has produced, and we are witnesses to the results. This is a forum that serves as a means of people's voices being heard and people holding each other accountable. private sector holding government accountable, and government holding private sector to deliver on what it says it can do and to make the environment more enabling for healthy private sector investment. By way of conclusion, let me welcome you all once again and request that we all participate keenly to ensure that we have a successful summit. But most importantly, that we end the summit with insights and opportunities that will change the outlook of Lagos going forward. To those of you who are coming here for the first time, to Ehingbeti for the first time, I say welcome.
Ehingbeti represents the economic heritage of the Marina and Broad Street areas of Lagos State. It serves as the springboard for Nigeria and West Africa's economic development since the European incursion in 1472. The strength and the development of Lagos is inextricably tied and bound to Ehingbeti. Since the first Ehingbeti, which took place in 2000 at the Eco Tourist Beach Resort Center, Akodo, at Ibejuleki, there have been 7 other summits since that time. And as the Yoruba saying goes, Boju obati Ehingbeti, Oju ole ti Eko. Just for those of you who do not understand Yoruba like myself, what it literally means is that if Ehingbeti is not shamed, then Lagos cannot be disgraced. As long as the waters continue to flow by our marinas, Lagos will continue to thrive. So long as the maze of waterways are available for the haulage of men, ideas, goods, so long will Lagos continue to prosper as the emporium of Nigeria's economic activity. Ehingbeti has stayed as a beacon of change and has helped shape Lagos State's public discourse over time. And this is the 20th anniversary of Ehingbeti. Whether it is from 2000, where the theme was accelerating economic growth through private sector partnerships in infrastructure development, or in 2008, where it was transforming Lagos into Africa's model mega city, which really set the tone for our vision to become Africa's model city, an economic and financial hub that is safe, that is secure, that is functional, and that is productive. Or in 2014, where it was powering the Lagos economy, or even now, for a greater Lagos, setting the tone for the next decade. And you will see through all of these years, it has been about partnership, about working together. So when we say Igbega Ipinle Eko, Ajumosheni, what we are saying is sounding again and again the message that has come from past Ehingbeti to shape our future as we go. I will take us through the highlights of past summits from 2000 Ehingbeti, when the theme was accelerating economic growth through private sector partnerships in infrastructure development. And some of the highlights of what came out of that had to do with ensuring due process, transparency, and accountability in governance, which is why we are not surprised when the World Bank comes and talks about state fiscal sustainability and transparency in governance. Lagos State always hits the right scores and moves ahead, because Ehingbeti has put that as part of our culture all the time from the beginning. It also brought out the idea that we must have secured commitments from the state legislature and judiciary to establish legal and regulatory frameworks to promote private sector participation and engagement. And Lagos has continued to be a leading light as far as frameworks and executive orders are concerned that shape the way we interact with the private sector and the way the private sector interacts with us. In 2001, it was improving urban development, economic growth, and social responsibility through effective partnerships. And out of that came the establishment of the Lagos Security Trust Fund, which we now have today as a major partner in our security infrastructure. It also helped to promote the idea of the establishment of export-free zones and SME industrial parks. So when you see the Lekki Free Zone and you see the deep sea port come out of it, and you see the Dangote refinery, they all have their roots in Ehingbeti. It is out of that same Ehingbeti that we thought about the establishment of the Urban Transportation Office, which has migrated and morphed into Lamata, from where you now begin to see the blue line, you begin to see the red rail line, you begin to see the green line, the purple line, and the orange line being advertised. Indeed, Ehingbeti has played very significant roles in the development of Lagos. In 2002, it was Lagos megacity and the challenges of economic development. And as you see pictorial representations of what we envisaged Lagos to look like. Again, it was about encouraging participation, encouraging working together. And it was out of this summit that we talked about establishing the Disaster Management Agency, and Lasambos was born for risk mitigation. So when you see our emergency first responders reach a particular place with ease and with speed and with efficiency, and there's no complaint about water or about capacity, all of this has its roots in past Ehingbetis. In 2008, it was about transforming Lagos into Africa's model city, the foundation of our vision, which I just read earlier. And it set the tone that we no longer compare ourselves or with cities in Nigeria, but we compare ourselves with other cities around the world. It's clear in our mind the kind of city that we want to build and the challenges that comes with trying to do that, which is why Ehingbeti continues to roll, because we know that we cannot do this without partnerships. 2010 was investment opportunities in Africa's emerging model city. And 2012 was when we insisted that we will not allow it to be BRICS alone, but we must introduce Nigeria into the mix for BRICS. It was clear to us that Lagos must play a pivotal role in this, and that partnership was going to play a lot of role in making that happen. Because Lagos was the gateway of the world into Nigeria, controlling over 75% of the traffic in and out of Nigeria, and it was also the gateway of Nigeria to the world. 2014 was about powering the Lagos economy, and we became a leading light in the thoughts around instituting an energy academy. We became leading lights when it comes to driving an intermodal system. And because this thing comes under review every year, we are now talking of a multimodal transportation system. So what are the notable successes that has followed since then? I talked about the Lagos Blue Line and the Red Line Rail, a very monumental project and significant in many sense. Not any subnational undertakes projects like this at the same time. In another 2 years, we believe that these two rail lines will begin to move and reduce the travel time by almost 250% for people coming from Agbado all the way to Oyingbo, or from along the expressway from Badagry all the way to Marina. The idea of the Fourth Mainland Bridge also has its roots in Ehingbeti, and the fact that we could combine to ensure that we drive transportation infrastructure through private partnership. And the deep sea port were all part of this. In the education sector, we knew that at some point we would need to leverage technology. And the Lagos Eco Excel project that was going to drive 450,000 study materials and equipment with our children at school was going to be launched, and this is currently operating. The Lagos Economic Energy Academy, as I said, and the agriculture-based empowerment scheme were all products of Ehingbeti. Not to talk about the housing programs and the rent-to-own programs and the low-interest cost for funding mortgages all had its roots in Ehingbeti. But Ehingbeti was not just about government action. It was also about the partnership between government and private sector. So when we speak out of Ehingbeti, the government responds, the private sector responds. So that is why our own Sahara Energy takes out and takes over Egbin in KEPCO to ensure that the entire plan remains intact. That is why the government goes ahead to control the value chain around rice and begins to do the immortal rice mill. These are the story of Ehingbeti. That is why we get the private sector to go ahead and do Alero City or Dangote to do the refinery. This is what Ehingbeti is about. It's about that partnership. It's about we acting together. It's about us acting individually, but towards the same objective of a greater Lagos. In this summit, we want to then say to ourselves, let's set the tone for the next decade. It's going to flag up the Lagos 30-year development plan for 2050. This is a partnership dialogue to assess the collective intelligence of the people of Lagos, because we believe that intelligence does not reside in one place. It is a combination of everybody, and the human resource and human capacity of Lagos must be put into the play. Unlike other conferences, the resolution reached in all of these conferences over the years in which it has run, has been phenomenal and has been part of all our plans going forward. We have had over 203 resolutions in past Ehingbetis. We've implemented 95% of them, right? And that is the spirit of Ehingbeti. Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, distinguished guests here present, I like to say to you that the future starts now. And that is why we can actually say, Igbega Eko Tidi Ajumoshe. Thank you very much.
In Eko, hospitality is top-notch. Babe.
You grew up in Lagos, you grew up thinking big in the midst of its aquatic splendor, because the city is big enough to accommodate everyone's dream. You see the water and you see the possibilities. The future belongs to those who believe in the future of their dreams. The dream of a greater Lagos lives within every one of us. A future where we can maximize digital innovation, drive policies, and stimulate partnerships. My Lagos, our Lagos, the Lagos of our dreams.
Anywhere you find yourself.
Developing and harnessing the potentials of Lagos is rightly a journey and not a destination. Making sure the city-state continues on this path is all the more crucial with the revival of Lagos Economic Summit, Ehingbeti Summit. A new decade got ticking recently, and it is ideal to seek renewed collaborations between public and private sector holders for the greater good. Discussions and deliberations at Ehingbeti Summit 2021 are sure to move around progressive conversations and an enabling environment for all interests. In his capacity as the chief host of Ehingbeti Summit 2021, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, speaks extensively on the theme for this edition.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to introduce him. That's how he does this thing. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
stand on all of the protocols that have been warmly established. Our focus this year is for a greater Lagos, setting the tone for the next decade. The summit was originally planned to take place in November 2020, but for the fallout of the Hensas protests, which caused us to reschedule it up until now. This also happens to be the first edition of the summit happening against the backdrop of the coronavirus pandemic. Here is a pandemic that has disrupted life in every country of the world and has ushered in a truly unprecedented times where physical contact and family and friends could be as scarce as debilitating illness, and where our places of worship and community interaction have been unended. Even before the pandemic, the 21st century was wildly and dramatically changing the way we work and we live. And amid all ensuring volatility, complexity, and ambiguity, we have been seeing a widening disparity between the haves and the have-nots. Now, the pandemic has come to accelerate the disruption. Our growing youth population are disillusioned. Their future and prospect for job are in question. We must all be distressed by the state of affairs. Living as people with no hope of inspiration should never be an option for our young people. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of every adversity lies an abundance of opportunity. It all depends on how we choose to view things. We are emerging from the most significant act of economic destruction that Lagos had ever witnessed in decades, combined with the effort of being the national epicenter of a very stubborn pandemic. Yet, Lagos has always been a beacon of hope in Nigeria. The sheer tenacity and audacity of Lagosians' spirit has over the centuries created vast opportunities for entrepreneurship and innovation. The challenge for us is to ensure that we never forget our indomitable spirit to emerge out of our adversity better and stronger. We must continue to maintain and nurture our audacious hope and the intention to always bounce back from adversity and build back better and bolder. The theme for this year's looks out over the next decade, the 20s. But to properly understand the Lagos of the future, we must look back at the past and trace the journey we have made to where we are today. Today's Lagos has seen as many revolutionary changes to usher in a new era of prosperity. It has reflected in improved infrastructure, economy, and security. We are still confronted with many challenges, no doubt, but it is also important to identify the progress we have made, and we can guide this progress jealously and build on it. Let me seize this opportunity to quickly remind us of what makes Lagos thick, the very essence of that greatness that we're gathered here to discuss at this very conference. We are the largest city in Nigeria and the seventh fastest growing city in the world. And the good factor that set us above the rest of us is, of course, our human capital. Their entrepreneurial energy, their optimism, their ability to pull together is one of the several. Our citizens' unwavering confidence in our leadership that we will continue to develop and implement long-range developmental plans for transformational change in our state. This is indeed demonstrated by the relatively very high standard of political stability that we enjoy in our state. The fact that we have continued to invest in and improve on our legal and regulatory mechanisms including alternative dispute resolutions options, together with improved judicial infrastructure, we have regularly issued new laws and executive order to strengthen the framework that underpin the ease of doing business in Lagos. Our demographic and geographical endowments, over 22 million people, a seaport that controls close to 75% of Nigerian imports, over 180 kilometers of coastline, and of course we have the busiest airport in the whole of West Africa. Lagos is one huge and accessible market within the West African Economic Zone and is well positioned for the African Continental Free Trade Agreements that we're all looking out for. Need I remind us that were Lagos a country, it will be West Africa's second largest economy, of course only after Nigeria. The fact that the past 2 decades of unbroken democracy have seen such evidence of material progress in Lagos. In terms of transportation infrastructure, we have constructed a few roads, but we could do more. The Lagos-Ekpe Expansion Road, the Lekki-Ikoyi Link Bridge, the Pen Cinema that were commissioning this weekend, the Agric-Ishawo Road, the International Airport Road, and very recently, that we also flagged off a regional road on the Lagos-Ekpe Express Road, and of course, the widening from Eleko Junction also to Ekpe Town. Together with over 10,000 of road networks, ramps, and junction improvement, we have seen the regeneration of several parts of this great metropolis, with one of more high-profile ones being the Lagos Island Business District, which is ongoing. Over the past 2 decades, we have seen the construction of 5 independent IPPs in Akute, in Alausa, in Nelly Peninsula, and on Lagos Island. We are the natural trailblazers in this area, and we're determined to explore efficient alternative sources in meeting the energy needs of our Lagosian. We have also built over 5,000 units of houses and delivered them under a home ownership scheme. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite you to join me to look ahead at the next decade and the possibility that lies ahead for Lagos State. In other words, what do Lagos should look like by 2030? There will be a city-wide network of colored-coded metro lines, the first 2 of which are the red line and the blue line, which we believe that once it's completed, it will move close to 35 million people on a monthly basis, which we believe will also cut the total travel time by over 250%. By 2030, Lagos will proudly stand beside every other mega city in the world in terms of the capacity to transport its people efficiently and effectively and do that responsibly. Our water transportation system will, by 2030, be a central element of life in this mega city and no longer just a marginal asset. The 4th mainland bridge that we all truly talk about would have come to define the cityscape of Lagos by or before the end of 2030. And in the same way in which we begin to see the skylines on Lekki, Ikoyi Link Bridge, and also the upcoming regional bridge on also that corridor. Going beyond just having transportation infrastructure system that a mega city of the status deserve, we will ensure that all of these systems are interconnected and truly multinodal, that the roads, the waterways, and the rails are integrated and are opening synergy to bring maximum benefit and comfort to the greatest number of our communities. By 2030, Lagos will be a smart city, fully covered by a network of several thousands of kilometers of fiber optics, an infrastructure that will carry broadband internet into our homes, into our offices, into our schools, and unleash a technology revolution that has never been seen before in this part of the world. The smart city that is unfolding will also be home to a network of intelligent cameras that will support not only security and policing across the state, but will also ensure that our traffic management and data collection for urban planning is next to none. As we all know, land is not a resource that we're generously endowed with in Lagos. We're the smallest state in Nigeria by landmass. Of course, with the largest population. Yet, this should not be an excuse for us to shy away from exploiting the agricultural value chain to the fullest, with a focus on non-land intensive aspects like processing and value addition. By the year 2030, Lagos should be home to one of the largest rice mills in the world at Imota Ikorodu. We can still aspire, even with a geographical limitation, to feed ourselves and the rest of the country through the innovative use of technology and a focus on processing and agro-industries. In terms of the private sector development, we have the Lekki Free Trade Zone rising from the eastern flank of this city with the mixed use of the Lagos Alaro City project as one of our flagship in new city development. We have a nearby Dangote refinery, which will be the largest single train refinery in the entire world, and a deep petrochemical plant, as well as the Lekki's deep sea ports, which will be Nigeria's biggest and most important deep sea in the whole of West Africa. On the western flank of the city, the ongoing road construction along the Lagos-Badagry will open up a new opportunity for investments in residential, commercial, and industrial real estate. You've seen our modest effort at also putting a blue line corridor there. Once that corridor gets to Okokomaiko, eventually we believe that it will get to Badagry and even get to the Seme border in a future date. The opportunity for tourism are going to be immense on this corridor, and there is no doubt that Lagos can and will indeed turn Nigeria into Africa's tourist magnet. Cultural tourism is far from being the only possibility that beckons on us. We see the potential for becoming a hub for medical tourism as well, with the increasing wave of investment in healthcare infrastructure. We are, in the next 10 years, building the largest children's hospital that we've seen in this part of the world. We're building an African infectious disease center in this part of the world. We're building vaccine, health technology-based infrastructure in this part of the world, so that indeed, in the next 10 years, Lagos can be ready to respond to the kind of pandemic that we see today that is ravaging the entire world. If we keep at the pace, by 2030, we will be able to see a steady influx of people from West Africa and beyond into Lagos, coming to take advantage of the state-of-the-art hospital and other facilities that we'll have brought to bear. We're pushing ahead with plans to develop, in partnership, of course, with the private sector, various mediparks that will offer world-class medical and diagnostic center all around the state. We have so much to celebrate, but it's also so much to be done. We're driven by the sense of urgency on the enormous tasks ahead to build the Lagos of our dream. The remarks that we've seen this morning, first by the chairman, Dr. Yemi Cardoso, and of course the co-chair, Mr. Egube, on the Ehingbeti 2021 summit, have touched very eloquently on the many opportunities Lagos presents for harnessing. Is it in technology? Is it in innovation? In infrastructure development? In youth empowerment and development? And of course, attracting investments from around the entire world. Positioning Lagos as the economic center, not only in West Africa, but the entire African continent. Our administration's agenda under the team's agenda represent our 6 strategic pillars of development, which we cannot stop but keep talking about, which is traffic management and transportation, health and environment, education and technology, making Lagos a true 21st century economy, entertainment and tourism, as well as security and good governance. These are pillars that we believe will help harness the full potential of Lagos and shape the state into a competitive megacity in the new decade that we all see. As I conclude, this year's economic summit, the Ehingbeti Summit, has been a long-standing platform for driving conversation and generating insights about developmental policies and projects that drives growth and prosperity for every Lagosian. I am enthusiastically looking forward to what will be the outcome of this summit and how the various initiatives can be implemented and make Lagos State transform from where we are into a bigger megacity, into a smart city of the future, into a globally competitive and resilient city that all of us will be truly proud of. I look forward to the goodwill messages that will be coming after my speech, but more importantly, I look forward to the resolutions that will be coming out at the end of this 3-day exercise. I want to thank you very much. I want to say that indeed, the energy that we bring is real, and the prospect and the prosperity that we see of Lagos is real. We believe that if we work together, we can build the Lagos of our dream. Thank you very much. Igbega Ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, Àjùmọ̀ṣe. Thank you and have a nice day.
The 8th Ehingbeti Summit, bringing together a distinguished cast of speakers and participants to discuss the economic future of the state. Lagos State is central to the economic fortunes of Nigeria. Our administration recognizes this and has in the past few years demonstrated our commitment to supporting the state to unleash its full socio-economic potential. One of the significant ways in which our support has manifested to Lagos State is the sufficient federal funding that we approved in 2020 in acknowledgement of the state being an epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic. The challenges of Lagos must therefore be very clearly seen as part of the challenges of Nigeria. And the federal government will support Lagos to overcome the challenges and to thrive socially and economically. The Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund is investing in the reconstruction of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, while the Apapa-Oshodi-Oworonshiki Expressway is a flagship project of our road infrastructure tax credit scheme, also known as Executive Order 7 of 2019. It was also this administration which granted approval to the Lagos State government to rebuild the International Airport Road, a major road that links the busiest airport in sub-Saharan Africa to the continent's 5th largest economy. The federal government is today completing the standard gauge railway line that will link Lagos to Ibadan in the first instance, and from there connect to Abuja and Kano and bring ease and efficiency to what is Nigeria's busiest transportation corridor. Just last month, this new rail line achieved a milestone extension into the Fort Complex in Apapa, setting the stage for a long overdue decongestion in that area. Very recently, we have granted approval for the temporary transfer of the National Theatre, an iconic federal asset on the Lagos landscape, to the Bankers Committee, who will invest in upgrading it and developing it into a world-class creative hub. When this is completed, the enterprising young people of Lagos will be the biggest beneficiaries. Speaking of young people, we are aware of just how central they are to the Lagos economy and to Nigeria as a whole. In the creative arts, culture, and technology sectors, we are determined to continue to open up opportunities by which they can achieve their dreams and aspirations, as well as thrive in a safe, secure, and increasingly prosperous country. Various other initiatives of the federal government are being implemented in Lagos, from our National Social Investment Program to our Energizing Economies Program, the Economic Sustainability Plan, and others. I commend the Lagos State Government for their partnership and collaboration with the federal government in this regard. The importance of understanding between national and subnational governments cannot be overemphasized. Let me also acknowledge and salute the fact that we have a forward-looking administration in Lagos that is focused on infrastructure and on improving the ease of doing business and the overall quality of life of all Lagosians. The theme of this year's Lagos Economic Summit, Lagos Our Dreams, invites us all to share our aspirations for a megacity that boldly occupies its place in the global standing of megacities. A Lagos that can keep up with its growing population in terms of housing, education, healthcare, security, and jobs. A Lagos that is innovative and productive, and that ensures that its economic prosperity leaves no one behind. I enjoin all speakers and participants to go all out in the course of the next few days to think and contribute along these lines and to come up with a practical master plan for achieving this Lagos of our dreams. I thank you for listening. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
To be able to address this meeting, and I'm thankful to my brother, the governor of the state of Lagos, for asking me to join you today. I'm sorry I cannot join you in person. You know the situation and the strange times we live in. I have only a few minutes really to speak, so I probably should get on. And I really basically want to say that Nigeria is the largest country in Africa. Every 5 Africans must contain one Nigerian. There are over 200 million people. Your country should be really the engine which is pulling Africa forward, economically at least. And because you have the scale. Scale is everything. It's so important. I mean, China could not have been where it is today without that 1.4 billion of people. That is a mass market which creates the scope to enable business to grow and to really create a vibrant market. I really look forward for a vibrant Nigeria. You need you guys to fulfill your promise and take this continent forward, because you have what it takes to do that. You have very vibrant young people. Some of the most intelligent, well-educated people I have seen in Africa are Nigerian. So you have really very valuable human resource. You have the capacity, you have the intelligence to lead us forward. Can you please rise now and let us all rise with you? So this is a plea to my brothers and sisters. We are waiting for you to wake up and wake us up too. I think the government really of Lagos and the governor of Lagos really need to focus on few issues. Focus in deliverable to your citizen. Transportation need improvement. Waste management needs improvement. Health, schools, really deliver the basic services in a secure and peaceful environment. Criminality, etc. Security is very important. Rule of law is very important. And if you focus on really delivering the basic services to the citizen of Lagos to enable young people to thrive, to build businesses, kids to go to school safely, not much time wasted in going from A to B. How can we improve the life of our citizens in Lagos? Because this is a wonderful metropolis. It is huge by any standard. And it really that care to see how we improve the lives of our people. If we just focus on few things and deliver this within a clean government, but let us make sure we run also a clean government and a clean process, because this is what attracts investors. Because you need to also create a healthy environment for investors. Investors want to go to a place which is rule of law, is prevalent, safety, security, lack of corruption, transparency, and effective bureaucracy. We need bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is not bad, because we need a system of government. But what we don't need is bad bureaucracy, too much red tape. We need to make it easy for people to come and invest. If you want to acquire a land title, if you want to build something, if you want to you need to get a quick answer, yes or no, from the government, so you need to proceed. So it's just to create this business-friendly environment, which also enable people to come and invest. Right, what I hope and I wish Africa to be in the near future. First, I want to see it economically integrated, because again, the issue of scale is very important. 54 countries, many of them much smaller than Lagos. They will go nowhere. They will go nowhere. And so this continental free trade agreement is so important. And what we really need is people to execute, to ratify and get it done and to move forward. That's what enables goods to move across Africa. We had the problem during the pandemic when suddenly our supply lines were interrupted. How are we going to get food? How are we going to get medicine? How are we going to get, come on. Let us be self-reliant and communicate with ourselves that enable us to build our own manufacturing base and create our own markets. We need to really create that market. I hope for also a vibrant civil society. Vibrant civil society is essential to keep the government accountable, to also provide good ideas for the government, what is needed to be done, because civil society should help government also in deciding what priorities, what need to be done. I hope to see Africa in peace with itself. It's hard to see all these conflicts around us in Africa. You know, you see the Sahel, large ungoverned spaces with all kinds of terrorists, smugglers, gangs, traffickers taking place. Even in northern Nigeria, we see insecurity and criminality also. In Darfur, in Somalia, I really hope we can really end all these issues, which many of them actually come because of ethnic problems, some because of climate change and desertification, which affect herders and farmers and whatever. And some of it also come because of bad governance. And so I hope we see Africa in peace and African people are really secure in their days. I hope to see Africa with diversified economy. Is enough. We all have relied on a mineral, oil, or gas, or something, and we sit back collecting rent and we're happy with that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And all these shocks, one after another, showed us the fallacy of relying on this single product to sell it to China or somewhere else. It doesn't work. We hope to see, we see an Africa able to feed itself because we have the land, we have the resources, we have, and we not only we should feed ourselves, but also we should be able to feed others as well. We should export food, not only because we have to do it. We have the land, huge amount of land, huge amount of arable land which is not being utilized. I hope to see us also developing our green economy and our digital economy. That's the future. And we are well equipped to deal with that. I hope to see a more inclusive society. We deal with we need to be an equitable society.
She's always traditional and she's still suitable.
Thank you. I think she deserves another round of applause, just so that as we settle in, brand new Director General for World Trade Organization. I think Lagos is blessed. This is the first appearance, official, public, in any form that she's having after our swearing in yesterday. She deserves another round of applause. We're truly, truly blessed. I'll just go straight into it so that we can leave you and you can go and catch your deserved rest. Ma'am, how has it been? Finally coming out as the Director General of the World Trade Organization, the first female, the first African. We're truly excited. What has been the journey like? Just for a few minutes, what has it been like? We all just want to soak it in with you right now. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's wonderful to be with you, and I've been listening in for a while. Fantastic sessions and information. I'm also one of your citizens, having a place in VGC, so I feel very much part of Lagos State. Well, it's fantastic, but I want to start by humbly thanking His Excellency, Mr. President, thanking all Nigerians for your support and encouragement. And I mean it sincerely throughout this whole process, which has been very difficult. It's taken almost 9 months of competition and waiting and uncertainty. Nigerians have been absolutely incredible, sending me messages of support, going on the internet. Some people have been making videos and releasing them. And so I feel incredibly blessed, and I'm happy that it's come out well, and therefore we can try to show what Nigeria and what Africa can do in such an international position. It's going to be very challenging, but I feel ready. As everyone says, in every challenge there's an opportunity. So it will be important to see what can be done with all the countries around the world.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you, and congratulations. We're certain that you're going to do a great job of it. And talking about great job, Africa in itself has not done a great job yet. Well, work in progress. So my first question to you will be, you sitting back and looking forward, what would a successful Africa, what would it look like? And where do you think Lagos can sit in that context, given the fact that Lagos is today the largest mega city in Africa, and it's like economic hub of Nigeria? What does a successful Africa, would look like in your view, and where does Lagos sit with that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. This is a great question. From my point of view, one of the most important things a successful Africa should look at is the demographics of Africa. When you have 60% or more of your population that is 30 years old and younger, then you have to worry about job creation. So for me, a successful Africa is an Africa that is able to create jobs for its citizens. And when I say jobs, I mean what I would call decent work. As I said in my speech, WTO acceptance speech yesterday, that is the biggest issue that the continent has to face. And similarly, Lagos State, the issue of employment of young people who are gainfully employed is important, because if they are not, that will lead to so many social dislocations and unrest. So first and foremost, a successful Africa and a successful Lagos State is one that creates jobs for its citizens. And this means 2 or 3 things. I think we have to concentrate our minds on the continent about, and in our country, Nigeria, and in Lagos State, about how we create modern, decent jobs for our young people. And we have a great opportunity to do that. I think one of the things that is very difficult for the continent, for Nigeria, for Lagos State now, is the fact that we're still mainly raw materials-based kind of economy. I know Lagos is our manufacturing hub, but if you look at the whole of Africa, we're still mainly exporting very primary products, whether it is fossil fuels like we have in Nigeria, oil and gas, and in Angola, Mozambique, and so on, or it's minerals, diamonds, and tin and copper and things like that from other countries, or agricultural products, cocoa, coffee, and so on. So we have to get from a position where we're exporting raw materials to one where we are adding more value and processing. When I listened to you, talked about Lagos becoming an agro-processing center, notwithstanding the fact that its land area is the smallest in the country. So for Lagos, for Nigeria, and for the continent, we have to ask ourselves the big question: how do we industrialize Africa? And the Agenda 2063 of the African Union looks very much at how we can get there. Let me just give you 1 or 2 examples where I think opportunities can be seized. Africa imports more than 90% of the pharmaceutical products that we use on the continent, 90%. So that is a big gap, and there's an opportunity for us to manufacture those products. We have a market of 1.3 billion people, equivalent to China or India's. And with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that is now under implementation, that means we are going, actually that is aiming at a common market, free borders when it actually works. What does it mean? It means that Nigeria and Lagos should look at how they can take advantage of such a big market to make Nigeria not just a consumer center where other people send goods, but a big manufacturing center that sends goods to other countries. So that is the dream. Apart from manufacturing, you have the creative arts that you mentioned, so services. Lagos is one of the most exciting cities, is one of the most difficult, but I love it because you never know what's around the corner. When I'm in Lagos, you always discover a surprise here and there as you enter one part of the city, and a lot to do with the arts. So how can we make the creative arts, the movie industry, part of it is centered there, create more jobs for our young people? You mentioned medical services. I want you to know that in Ghana, they're also planning to make the whole of Ghana a medical tourism hub. And I was speaking to the Minister of Finance and hoping that they can link with Nigeria so that they can focus on some specialties. And we also focus on some. So it's not Nigerians just going there to avail themselves of services, but Ghanaians and others also coming to Nigeria for those medical services. So I'll stop there, but there are just so many exciting opportunities of what Lagos State can do, what Africa can do, and we have to put in mind who we are doing it for, which is our youth.
Thank you very much. I think you deserve a round of applause. And I think you said it. You know, for us, looking forward is jobs, jobs, jobs. You know, with the African Free Trade Agreement, we realize that we do less within ourselves. You know, in the statistics have shown that, you know, it's always from Europe, from China, from America, but we do less internally. And like you said, it's only when we collaborate and do a whole lot with Africans and internal that we indeed can create those jobs and create that opportunity for ourselves. You know, so given the theme of this summit and looking at Lagos, you know, for the next 10 years, we actually want to be very audacious. You know, where do you see us? What are those pitfalls that we need to avoid? What are those things that can make us a lot more, you know, competitive, a lot more responsive, and we can indeed build a Lagos that you are truly, really proud of, you know, for the next decade? What kind of advice, what kind of input do you see us specifically, you know, helping the Lagos, you know, to achieve that dream that we all dream about?
Thank you, Your Excellency. You're asking very good questions. I think let me build, I listened to Mo Ibrahim talking of the future. So I said jobs for the youth, but the future is changing and is very dynamic. And so the future is artificial intelligence. It is the digital economy. It's here to stay, and we can't do anything about that. So either Nigeria, Lagos State, Africa gets on board, or we get left behind. So one of the things that I heard you talk about, Your Excellency, is that you mentioned a broadband internet access to all households. If we can do that, this is what they have in a whole country like Korea. The whole place is wired. So everybody can be on the internet. So when you talk about jobs of the future, if we have broadband access, that is fantastic. So that's my main theme. I think the biggest challenge for Lagos State is infrastructure. If you don't get the infrastructure right, and I mean infrastructure of the future, not just roads and ports and all the other things that cause a bottleneck. Of course, to have telecommunications infrastructure, broadband, you also need electricity and energy. So one of the things you have to make sure the state takes on board is how to have a steady, sustainable supply of electricity. And in saying that, we should also be looking at how to move more to renewables and green, because the world is also turning green very rapidly. I know that, you know, my brother Aliko is building the biggest refinery. We should have done that a long time ago, so we are glad we have it. And petrochemicals in Lekki. But we also need to add to that, to start looking at green. You said it yourself. How do we move to renewables? So those are three things: infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure for a Lagos of the future. The population is growing. If you don't keep up with infrastructure, all you'll end up with is bottlenecks. And that is what Mo Ibrahim was talking about. But if you can also really make it modern, forward-looking infrastructure, that is what we need. I want to just end and say one thing. The world, as I said, is going digital. That is, e-commerce is here to stay. I mean, the amount of transactions in e-commerce now that is ongoing in the US is over $500 billion, with a net gain to the US of over 200 billion. This shows you the direction in which it's going. How can we tap into that digital economy? And the reason I'm excited about it and looking at this, negotiating the e-commerce agreement at the WTO, is because I feel our countries, our cities can benefit. We have small and medium enterprises. Many women running this. I'd like to see them on a digital platform. And I'll end by saying that we are lucky because our young people have started doing this. You know, when you go and you actually see what many of them are doing, you'll be very proud, from e-payment systems to all kinds of systems on the digital platform. So all we really need to do is give them the basic infrastructure, encourage them. Let's have some venture capital that invests in our own businesses. That's the problem we have. We don't really have, you know, the venture capital that can help encourage some of these businesses so that they can grow. So these are some of the things I think we have to watch out for.
Thank you very much. I think you've said it all, and I should not delay you any further. You need to go and rest. But I cannot resist this. There's still one more thing. You know that you're an icon in this country, not only to the male, but more importantly to the female. You are a beacon that is an inspirational one for everyone, right? They're asking me, you know, what kind of advice do you have, do you see, for us to also have some seemingly gender balance? So I'm going to talk about women and our youth. You know, that will be my final question. What broad advice in terms of empowering them, in terms of also opening up the space for them, for our women and for our youth for the next decade? You know, and that will be my final question to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I want to repeat, I'm very proud of Nigerian women and African women, honestly, because the way that they multitask and manage so many things, careers or work and business, along with their families, their children and so on, is amazing. But we really need to give them and the youth a bigger platform. And I've just written a book with the former Prime Minister of Australia. I didn't know you were going to ask this question, but on my table here, desk, I have this book. I don't know if you can see it.
Wow.
It's my latest book. It came out in the US 2 weeks ago.
Wow. What a coincidence.
Women and Leadership.
That's great.
Real lives, real lessons. Wow. So it's brand new. We've been doing the book tour. And what it talks about is what are the lessons? We interview 8 women leaders, from Theresa May to Jacinda Ardern to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Joyce Banda, you know, Hillary Clinton. 8 very important women, and we add to them lessons from our own experience to say, what is it that women need to do to break into leadership? Because no matter what we say, they're not yet there. I'll focus on women for a moment. And I'll give you a few statistics why we felt we had to write this book. The United Nations has 193 members. And out of those 193 countries, only 57 have ever had women leaders at one time or the other. As we speak, there are about 14 to 15 women leaders. Okay, people will say it's progress. There were only 4 in 2000, now we're at 14. But at the pace of growth, it will take us decades in order to get to gender parity in terms of women's leadership. Everywhere you look, Nobel Prize winners, since the Nobel Prize started being awarded in the early 20th century, you have had 900 Nobel Prize winners. And out of those 900, only 53 have been women. You look at the parliaments all over the world, 1 in 4 parliamentarians globally is a woman. You look at cabinets, 21% of cabinets globally are women. You look at different fields, engineering, 15% are women. So I could go on and on. For every dollar earned by a man globally, a woman earns 63 cents. So we talk about all that in the book, and we say, here are the lessons. There are things that women can do. But why I'm saying all this is because we also say it cannot happen without men. So, Your Excellency, our men have to decide to empower women because they are the ones who are holding the power and the jobs. So unless they also agree to empower women and give a chance, you know, we aren't going to get there. So it's no use women just talking to women about issue of women empowerment or youth empowerment. We've got to have dialogues with the men. So, Your Excellency, I will start with you and ask you, you know, how many jobs, leadership jobs, are you going to open up? I know Lagos State has done very well. You've had female deputy governors. You have many female commissioners. You have excellent captains of industry who are women. I know my sister Buko Awoshika is there. I know there are many women, the Wimbies women, I'm very proud of them, they are there. But I want you to talk to the other governors. How are you going to open up leadership positions for women? Because we cannot be empowered unless the men agree to empower us. Similarly, for our youth, we can't make room unless we all together create the opportunities for them to lead. So that I'm bringing back the question to you, Your Excellency. And before I go, I want to hear from you what you're going to do to help open up and persuade your fellow governors to do more. To empower.
Thank you, Ma. But I'll just tell you that for us in Lagos, this is very critical for us. And I dare say that we're humbled that in our cabinet, we have 35% women. Our permanent secretary, we have about 65% that are women. Our judges, we have about 65 women that are women. So in all of the critical arms, in permanent secretary, our judges in Lagos State are more women. But we still want to do more. I talked about the rail infrastructure. The 3 critical ministry or agencies that we have in Lagos today are headed by women. Is a woman that is the head of our works and infrastructure, is a woman that is head of our Lamata, is a woman that is head of our agency on renewal and rebuild of all the Lasiama, which is a government rebuild agency, is a woman. Is a woman that is also working in scripts. So we're doing, but we also want to do more. But we know that there's a lot of other opportunities that we can bring forward for our youth and for our women. And so I want to assure you that Lagos will continue to take the lead on this. And we're truly excited that you have even written a book. And we want to just say to you that you've got a great fan here that is not only women, I dare say, and men as well. And I want to use this opportunity to say to you that we wish you all the very best on this new global stage that you are. We're convinced that you will certainly put in your very best. And putting in your very best means that you will come out of it, without blemish, and you will do a good job that every Nigerian, every African, and every Lagosian will be truly proud of you. I want to wish you all the very best. I want to thank you for being part of our discussion today, and want to wish you all of the very best. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you. A shout out to all Nigerians, as my son would say. Thank you so much, and to the women. Love you all. Keep it up, and Governor, congrats on doing so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Let me start, Your Excellency, Mr. President, by offering my congratulations to you on the election yesterday of my sister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. What a day it was. The first woman to become the head of that organization, the first black person, and of course the first African, and of course, should I add with pride, the first Nigerian. Mr. President, you supported me greatly as well when I was re-elected for my second term as president of the African Development Bank. Go Nigeria. Congratulations to everybody. I wish to commend you, Governor Sanwo-Olu, for your visionary leadership and selfless commitment to the people of Lagos State. You are young, dynamic, and focused with an eye on the future Lagos. I would like to congratulate all the past governors of Lagos State who have worked to make it what it is today. Not just last week, we lost one of them, sadly, the late Chief Lateef Kayode Jakande, the dynamic, people-centered governor. They used to call him the action governor of Lagos. May his soul rest in peace. As a child growing up in Nigeria, some of my most fond memories was to have a chance to travel to Lagos. I love the beans, the ewa agonyi, sold by the incredible women, local chefs. I will do anything to travel more than 120 kilometers from Ibadan just to have a taste and then go back. Lagos is a melting pot of fun, always buzzing with such excitement that I used to ask my dad, when are we going to go to the Barbish in Lagos? Everyone wants to be in Lagos. Forget the noise, forget the traffic, so much so that the population of Lagos grew from 500,000 persons in 1959, just before the independence in 1960, to nearly 20 million inhabitants today. The city is expanding at an astonishing rate of 77 persons every 60 minutes. By 2030, Lagos is projected to be one of the 10 largest cities in the world, alongside Cairo and Kinshasa. To understand the potential of Lagos, think of the size of the economy. The GDP of Lagos, estimated at over $80 billion, is far larger than that of Ghana at $67 billion, and compares closely to Kenya's GDP of $95.5 billion. If you're looking for a place to invest in Africa, think Lagos. According to United Nations, Lagos will become the third largest consumer market in the world within the next decade, with its population projected to reach 36 million people. The greater wealth of Lagos in the future will come from the youth of Lagos. Today, almost 2/3 of the population is under the age of 30. That means some 2/3 of my speech today should be devoted to how to unlock this demographic youth advantage and turn it into wealth for Lagos. The youth are not the problem of Lagos. The youth are the assets of Lagos. It's time to create youth-based wealth in Lagos. The past must yield to the present, the old to the new. The dominant phrase should not be, well, the young shall grow. It must be, the young have arrived. Not only must there be a generational shift, there must be a wealth shift by unlocking the potential of the youth. We must not see the youth as risks. We must see the youth as assets. The young shoots are springing up. Today, Lagos has its own Silicon Valley. Yabakon Valley has emerged as one of the leading tech hubs in Africa, with between 400 and 700 active startups worth over $2 billion, second only to Cape Town. Andela, a global technology startup based in Yabakon Valley, recently attracted $24 million in funding from Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. The $200 million investment by Stripe, a Silicon Valley firm, in the local payments company called Paystack, and the $400 million in 3 fintech companies in just 1 week in 2019 in Lagos signals the huge potentials of Lagos to attract global digital finance and financial services. The African Development Bank is implementing a program to support Africa's youth in computer coding for employment. Launched in 2018, the bank's Youth in Africa Coding for Employment program has already equipped over 80,000 young people with ICT skills to enhance their employability in this digital era. I applaud the government of Lagos for launching its Digital Skills Initiative, Lagos, to equip 1 million students with digital skills by 2023. The youth do not need empowerment. Look around. Often those who say they are empowering them are actually simply empowering themselves. The youth do not need handouts. The youth need investment. That's why the African Development Bank is developing the establishment of youth entrepreneurship investment banks. They will be financial institutions for young people, run by first-rate young bankers and financial experts to drive youth wealth creation in Africa. The African Development Bank will put its capital at risk for the future of the youth of Africa. And I can tell you, that is a risk worth taking. The wealth and prosperity of Lagos must be for all. A Lagos by all, a Lagos for all. Now, progress is being made as the poverty rate in Lagos has declined in the past 1 decade from 40.3% in 2009 to 4.5% in 2019. Now, that is a remarkable achievement. Congratulations. Yet, more than 50% of the population of Lagos live in slums without water, sewage, or electricity. Now, while some will advocate for slum upgrades, I do not believe in slum upgrades. There are no 5-star slums. Significant investments will be needed for decent and affordable housing for low-income people. In roads, electricity, water, sewage systems, and waste disposal for local governments, especially those in poor areas. A prosperous Lagos must also be a healthier Lagos. And a healthier Lagos will be a more productive Lagos. The future Lagos must be knowledge-based. Now, 2 of the universities in the state, Lagos State University and the University of Lagos, rank 2nd and 3rd in university rankings in Nigeria. They also rank 10th and 14th among African universities. A lot more work is needed to deepen the tertiary education system, especially in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and connect them to well-funded secondary and primary schools to build the human capital for growth and future prosperity. We must turn the universities in Lagos to world-class universities and connect them better to industries to provide the students with the knowledge and the skills for the jobs of tomorrow. The future Lagos must be one that is climate smart, green, and resilient. With global climate change and rising sea levels, the city faces significant risks of flooding and coastal erosion. Climate-proofing the development of Lagos must therefore be an urgent priority. The landmark Eco-Atlantic project to save the seashores of Lagos and the rest of the state from the waves of the Atlantic is one of the most innovative climate-resilient urban infrastructure development that I have seen anywhere. There is a need to invest massively in greening the transport system, reducing pollution and making the transport system more efficient. The African Development Bank is looking into supporting the Lagos Metropolitan Transport Authority in its drive to introduce compressed natural gas into the public transportation system. And by using drones, CCTV cameras, and satellites, Lagos should be turned into a smart city to enhance security, which of course will further boost attractiveness for investors. This is all the more important with the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the world's largest free trade zone worth a whopping $3.3 trillion in combined GDP. Lagos is well positioned. Developing interconnections with the Apapa port, when you can get there, with more efficient road and rail systems, will enhance its linkage to countries along the Lagos-Abidjan corridor, a major part of the Trans-African Highway. The African Development Bank will continue to support transformative projects that will benefit Lagos State and the Nigerian economy. For example, the African Development Bank is financing the development of the Abidjan-Lagos Highway Corridor. This project, which is part of the Trans-African Highway, will dramatically improve road connectivity between Lagos and the other coastal cities in West Africa. The African Development Bank will support the Lagos SkyTrain project, which will help to decongest the city and provide safe, reliable, and affordable public transport services. The African Development Bank is also supporting the Lagos state government to implement our first subnational financing operation in the power sector. This will pilot the rollout of electricity cooperatives as franchises that will provide reliable electricity services to 60,000 households in unserved and underserved peri-urban and rural areas. Now, to make faster progress, the private sector must be mobilized to support the creation of the new Lagos, the Lagos we want. Public-private partnerships should be prioritized. Fiscal incentives should be provided to the private sector to invest in infrastructure, agriculture, housing, and digital financial services for wider financial inclusion, especially for women. After all, women run Lagos. Resource mobilization will continue to be crucial, especially leveraging the institutional investors, such as the pension funds. Lagos itself should have its own sovereign wealth fund to finance its future. Taxes have been the key for financing Lagos, the highest in Nigeria, estimated at 400 billion naira in 2019. Now, to whom much is given, much is also expected. Taxes require a social contract between the government and the citizens. The taxes of the people belong to the people, not in the pockets of individuals. There must be accountability for the taxes collected from citizens through transparent tax collection and administration. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I see a greater Lagos. A Lagos where dreams are made. A Lagos where visions are turned into realities. A Lagos where women thrive. A Lagos where the youth shine. A Lagos thriving and prosperous, with wealth shared by all. A Lagos where, like my experience growing up, we can pass on to the future generations to come and see with pride. Lagos is a center of excellence. Lagos, arise now and excel. Thank you all very much.
Thank you to the Lagos State Government for inviting me to participate in Ehingbeti 2021, a very important summit to accelerate sustainable economic growth and investments in Lagos. I would also like to thank the UAE Embassy in Nigeria for supporting this event. As you know, Nigeria is one of the UAE's most important trade partners in Africa. The value of non-oil foreign trade between our two countries reached nearly $1.5 billion in 2019. Today, the UAE is the 9th largest exporter to Nigeria globally and is the country's largest trade partner in the Middle East region. In fact, the UAE accounts for 35% of Nigeria's total trade with the Middle East countries and 60% of its trade with Arab countries. As Nigeria's economic hub and one of its most densely populated states, Lagos has been instrumental in driving trade relations between the UAE and Nigeria. And there is a significant potential to further strengthen trade and investment between our two countries. Nigeria has successfully distinguished itself as a dynamic, fast-growing economy. Mutual investments between the UAE and Nigeria are currently valued at nearly $600 million.
Honourable Governor, co-chairs of the Ehingbeti Summit, Distinguished guests, please permit me to stand on existing protocol. It gives me great pleasure to say a few words of support for your summit over the next 2 days for a greater Lagos, setting the tone for the next decade. This is all about public-private partnerships because they will be key to creating the jobs of the future, the jobs and the economic recovery that Lagos needs, and to help tackle the two big issues that we're all grappling with, COVID-19 and climate change, and of course ensuring that the youth have a voice, a stake in the future. So I really commend you, Mr. Governor, for reviving this summit at this critical time. We've got a long association with this summit, and it reflects the deep partnership that we have with the Lagos State Government. And it's why that our Deputy High Commission in Lagos, headed by Ben Llewellyn-Jones, who I know is joining you for the summit, is bigger than many of our embassies across Africa. That's because the economy of Lagos is, of course, bigger than the whole of the economy of Kenya. So we've spotted the opportunities, British business have spotted the opportunities, and we're here to support and strengthen and deepen our partnerships to help you to take the amazing creative talent that you have in Lagos and turn it into concrete business opportunities and investments.
Àgbà ìjọ́mọ̀ pẹ́yìn ọ̀rọ̀ wọn yóò súnwọ̀n ó firun mú ya dígbágó ojú ó wá firun gbọ̀n díya pẹ́pẹ́pẹ́ ló dífá fún ṣẹ̀ṣe tí ń ṣe olórí òṣòro níwárún ǹjẹ́ kí làbá bọ káyétè ní bòrìṣà. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe làbá bọ káyétè ní bòrìṣà. Orí ẹni ní ṣẹ̀ṣe, ẹ̀dá ẹni ní ṣẹ̀ṣe. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe làbá bọ káyétè ní bòrìṣà. Yèyé ẹni ní ṣẹ̀ṣe, bàbá ẹni ní ṣẹ̀ṣe. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe làbá bọ káyétè ní bòrìṣà. Egúngún ní ṣẹ̀ṣe, ìrẹ̀wẹ̀ ní ṣẹ̀ṣe. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe làbá bọ káyétè ní bòrìṣà. Àwọn ìṣẹ̀ṣe aláṣekù òde ọ̀run á jẹ́ ìyà ó ṣe léde ó tùbà ó tùṣẹ nítorí àṣẹ kọlọ́bọ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́nu kọlọ́bọ̀, àṣẹ kọlọ́bọ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́nu kọlọ́bọ̀, àṣẹ yọ̀bọ̀yọ̀bọ̀ ń bẹ lẹ́nu àríkù ṣẹṣẹṣẹ. Àṣẹ Ògún ìyẹn ń bẹ lẹ́nu Ògún, àkùfàdì ẹrẹ́ ní sọlọ́nà ọbẹ̀ kẹrẹrẹ, káàgbégi núgbóṣólúgbòyìn má gbà. Ẹlù kóṣókóṣó níjọba olóde ìbíní, àwọn ẹ̀là pèsè níjọba olótù Ifẹ̀, koríko jẹ́tí níjọba olóde ìjígbe, ègbè ọ̀pẹ tí ń ṣọmọ bíbí inú àgbọ̀mùrègún ló dífá fún bàbá ń sùn wọn kì í jí, wọ́n ní ẹbọ ni kí ó ṣe, a máa sùn a máa jí, bàbá ní kí ni ẹbọ, wọ́n ní ẹyẹlé méjì, adìyẹ méjì, ẹyẹ àparò méjì, bàbá kẹ́bọ sílẹ̀, bàbá rúbọ ń ṣe ni bàbá ń sùn, tí bàbá ń jí ijó ní ń jó, ayọ̀ ní ń yọ̀, bàbá níṣe ló máa tún fádá, wọ́n ní wọn kì í tún fádá, wọ́n ní tẹ́bọ bá dà ń ṣe là ń yín láwo, táláwo yin fá tí fá yin Òdùà nífẹ̀ẹ́ ó dì sókò, wọ́n ní ìgbà ń pè ògiri àparò, ògiri àparò, aládé òdìrè Ifá òdìrè Ọ̀rúnmìlà òdìrè, ó ń pè é àparò, Ifá òdìrè tí ó gbé òdìrè, ó ń pè é Ifá òdìrè ọ̀yẹ̀kú méjì òdìrè. Ifá òjìrè Ọ̀rúnmìlà òjìrè òun pè é àparò. Ifá òjìrè etí ògbè òjìrè òun pè é. Ṣé Ifá òjìrè Ọ̀rúnmìlà òjìrè òun pè é. Ògiri Ifá òjìrè Ọ̀rúnmìlà òjìrè òun pè é. Ifá òjìrè Ọ̀rúnmìlà òjìrè òun pè é. Ifá òjìrè èjì ògbè òjìrè òun pè é. Aládé o lè Ifá òjìrè ọ̀run. Wá kó bá mi sí Ọ̀rúnmìlà bára gbọ́n mi rè gún. Ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ oyún òjògìrì lúgbẹ̀dú. Ṣẹ́kẹ̀ okùn ọmọ olódò idẹ. Ọ̀pẹ nígi àràdà. Tìmì àgbálé amẹ́tutù ṣòro. Ọmọ ńlẹ̀ eréke tí ń ráfòpọ̀ ẹyẹ. Erin kìnlẹ̀ àdó. Erin mi lóde ọ̀wọ̀. Jíngìjìngì lóde ìṣẹ́rí. Mi ìwọ mo ń pè. Ìwọ mo ń kí. Ọmọ Àjàyè gbẹdẹgbẹdẹgbẹdẹ bí ẹ ńlá yìí.